Hi everyone, I'm Soraya Rhea, and thanks for tuning in for my review of 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, Episode 4. I feel like this episode should have been titled Choices. The choices we make. But then to be honest, I feel like every episode of 90 Day Fiancé could be titled that. I really consider the choices that these people are making. Why? Like Tiffany and Ronald and, Paul and Karini. I mean, ay. Anyway, well, let's get to it. So first we have Jenny and Sumit. Okay, so we left with the cliffhanger at the end of last episode where Jenny was stranded in the airport waiting for Sumit. And he was nowhere to be found. Her phone wasn't working. And she's just wondering what's going on. I don't have a plan B. Okay. Well, obviously, finally Sumit arrives. And, they embrace. And oh my goodness, you look so adorable. And now they haven't seen each other for a couple of years, So seeing each other face to face obviously is a lot different, and they're kind of reacting to like, ooh, seeing you in the flesh, hugging and kissing. And then I think, was it then that Jenny alluded to, oh, I can't wait for us to be alone together, we have lots of making up to do. We don't need to know that. So yeah, anyway, but Sumit arrives an hour late. Obviously, we knew that he was going to come eventually, right? So he did arrive like an hour later, and they leave the airport finally. As they're on their way, Jenny's asking him about their apartment, and I'm like, I have the same question, Jenny. Yes. Do y'all have an apartment? Well, surprise, surprise, they actually have an apartment. Like, Sumit actually has his stuff together. Okay, so what I will say about, well, let me finish, right? Should I finish first? Right? Let me tell you, finish their segment. So basically, Sumit shares with us in his interview that after talking to his parents, he doesn't think that they believe him. I'm not surprised. He really does have like that cute, adorable face. It's like, he probably can't lie. He probably, and he probably was shuddering and tripping over his words and, so he says he doesn't believe his parents believe him, or he believes his parents don't believe him, and that if they find out that he's lying, like they're going to try to stop him from, moving forward and living with Jenny and marrying her and whatnot. So, I will say though, once they showed Jenny and Sumit together sitting down like for their interview in India, like whatever she was wearing, like she had her little high bun and like the dress that she was wearing, beautiful. Like she looked really cute, I will say. Anyway, so they get to their apartment, right? And it's a walk up, and I guess they probably encourage the Americans to complain about just stupid things in their new country. So here's Jenny with her luggage talking about, oh my gosh, what's a walk up? There's no elevator. We have to pick up our bags and like go up the stairs. Oh my gosh, it's like, what, have you never been to a walk-up apartment building or even like a walk-up hotel garden style? Like, what are you talking about? Like, why the complaint? That's your complaint, sis, okay? And the thing is, you're bringing your luggage up once, okay? So just do it once and you'll be fine. Like, you're not doing this every day, okay? So, so she complains about that. They go into the apartment and home, it is fully furnished. They got, so newly fully furnished that the plastic is still on the furniture, okay? He got a 2-bedroom, got a couch, okay? Got a full-size American looking fridge, it's just a regular apartment, okay? Let's just be honest. It's just a regular apartment, and it's not rustic in any way. It's not third world in any way. It's a regular old apartment, and it is nice. And first of all, Jenny was surprised that they even had a second bedroom, and then Sumit was like, yes, for the nights that like I am, wrong or bad, I don't have to sleep on the couch, I'll have another bedroom to sleep in. Yo, Sumit, like, as crazy as this couple is, as crazy as I think that Jenny is to move across the world for this person, this very young person, Sumit is a decent guy. Like, he's not saying like, yeah, or just like, talking about like, oh, when we have our family friends over, he's already put himself in the doghouse. Like, he already knows how it's going to be. Jenny's going to be the one, he's gonna have to do the whole happy wife, happy life thing. And I mean, I feel you, Sumit, so he has everything set. What I will say, remember, my real self, my entertainment self. So my entertainment self will say, all right, if we gonna do this 90-day thing, like, it's gotta be the way that Sumit is doing it. He's got his life together. Homeboy has a job. He's a regular person. He's not an addict. Okay. Even though he's got the family against them, which is, of course, his major flaw, at least he has the stuff set up. Like, he's got it all together. He's not scamming her for money. Like, he did that all on his own, He's not depending on Jenny for anything. That's why she was kind of like surprised. Like, so what's going on? What's going on? Everything was set. And he shared that the apartment is only $350 a month. And I think he even said that was kind of expensive too. So I was like, wow. So Jenny's $6K might actually go pretty far, at least for a time, So, and then again, Sumit has a job. So they've got themselves set up, They definitely got it set up. So, we'll see what happens next. I assume that the next episode maybe we'll meet his family. I mean, he didn't bring his parents on camera while he was telling them and lying to them that he was getting this new job, So we'll see what happens. All right. On to Paul y Carini. All right. Oh, and I just realized that Carini is 23 years old. Because I think I remember in the last episode or the first one, I couldn't remember her age. I just knew that when she met Paul, on their initial 90-day appearance, she was like 20. So yeah, so she's 23 now. She looks really cute pregnant, I will say. Like, Carini, she looks adorable. Oh my gosh, so cute. Anyway, Carini is taking English lessons, and she's really good, and good for her. Like, she's taking lessons, and she says that she wants to communicate with Paul better, and she's hoping that this will actually, help to make their relationship better, which, yes, of course it would. So I'm just hoping that she signs Paul up for some Portuguese lessons. You're next, Paul. So they show Carini and her brother walking through, town and just kind of talking with each other. At this point, Paul is en route to Brazil, but Carini doesn't know because he never called her to tell her that he was coming because he wanted to surprise her. Fine. Bonnie, Carini's brother, he just drops it. He just drops the knowledge, drops the reality. He says Paul is unbalanced, and he goes from being like a calm person to a demon just like that. And he talks about him not having a job and says that babies are expensive and he didn't even have money for, a visa and all that. So he just does not think that this is good for Carini. And Carini's just kind of sitting there like, you dropping knowledge, bruh. But what else is she gonna do? I mean, at this point, she's already in it, They're married, she is pregnant, I mean, the only thing that she could do is, besides regret her past decisions, is really just make the best of it. Well, what will that entail? I don't know. But what I will say is that, well, let me just say this. So then finally, later, I guess maybe that evening or, Paul busts into the apartment and she's like, she's really surprised. And she's like, oh my gosh, like, you lied, but like, you're really here. And she's like halfway, like, like really excited, but then also kind of like upset, like, yeah, you lied, But, then he says, yes, I listened to you. I consolidated down to 2 bags and then I came. She's like, okay, great. What did you bring? He's like, well, I will give Paul this. Paul said he basically left a lot of his stuff. He packed everything with as much stuff that Carini wanted, which I was like, go ahead, Paul. That's the way to go. Because he probably realizes, like, what, if anything, he'll be able to get some clothes, for himself in Brazil. I mean, would imagine he probably came still with his little nets, his mosquito nets, and, you know, his bulletproof stuff, you know, the things that really matter. But at least his clothes and stuff, I would imagine that that's probably what he left. But he tells her, like, he brought some baby stuff, but then brought all the things that he knew that Karini wanted. And so then she's kind of like upset. And so then he gets all upset, like, oh, there's nothing, anything I do is wrong. Anything I do is wrong. Now, the only thing I don't understand is, what was the difference between what Karini wanted versus like what she asked for the baby? I mean, then I would say, yeah, Karini, you can't be upset at Paul. I mean, which one did you want him to bring more of? Stuff that you wanted for yourself, which I don't know what that would entail, that's separate from the baby, but whatever. Versus, you know, bringing things that were specifically for the baby. So, but calm down, Paul. Yes, sometimes you're not always going to get it right. And I will say that you did sacrifice knowing exactly what she would want by wanting to surprise her, okay? So that's probably how you paid. Okay, because if you really did call her back and really said, hey, Karini, I won't leave until you tell me exactly what you want, because I know that this is, you know, I have to consolidate down to 2 bags or whatever. But yes, you wanted to have like a really like cute moment and whatever with surprising her. But, you know, yes, this is kind of how you pay. But don't worry, calm down. Yes, she might be a little upset, but like she wasn't going crazy. Like you, Paul, you kind of started flailing and like, you know, going crazy. So calm down, chill. Anyway, again, with this couple and just with anybody, life lessons. Let's talk, people. You know, when we don't plan, you know, life is always going to throw curveballs at us, right? But there's a lot that I feel like we have within our means to make decisions and actually have options, use the opportunities that are before us, or avoid certain opportunities, you know. And I feel like a lot of times what is said on this show, or even on other shows, or, you know, just people in life talking about, oh, I gotta follow my heart, or I couldn't not listen to my heart, and this, you know, it's like, but you can make decisions, you know, even though Karini, as nice as she is, you know, I have to agree with her brother. You know, she chose to marry this unbalanced man. Paul was unbalanced before they got married. The day of their wedding, if you guys remember that episode, like they were going back and forth whether they were going to get married or not. Like Karini didn't even look happy, you know, like it was so weird. But she chose to marry this unbalanced man. And, you know, I assume they had unprotected sex. Not that you cannot use some protection and then you still get pregnant that way. Yes, but I would likely believe they probably weren't using protection. So, you know, you chose to have unprotected sex. So therefore, then you got pregnant. And no, I think having children is a choice. Unless you're among those 3-4%. I mean, I don't know, maybe less. I don't know what percentage it is of people that really do get pregnant using protection properly, because there's also that too, using it properly, whether it's taking medication daily or knowing how to fit the condom properly or whatever the case is. Like, come on, right? Like, I think mostly it's a choice, you know. So but yeah, you guys make those choices, and that's why Paul's mom, she's still the MVP, right? Because she noted you made these choices, and you went against what recommendations people gave you. So, you know, anyway, all right, moving on. Ronald and Tiffany. Okay, all right. So this was a heartwarming episode in that Tiffany's son had a play date with his really good friend Malik, who's so adorable. They were so adorable playing together. I love to see when kids have really good friendships when they're young and like they're playing really well together and getting along and like actually having really genuine close connection. I love to see that, especially among little boys too. But he's so precious. I think Tiffany's son is adorable. Really. I really do. But at the same time, my heart was broken because he's calling Ronald daddy. Like, I gotta do this emoji. You know, like, why? Honestly, you know, Tiffany, you are on Nicole's level now. And to me, like, Tiffany definitely seemed a little bit smarter, but then she's also with an addict. I mean, I don't know. Why? And to me, everything that a child chooses to do, then they don't necessarily have to do. If he started to call Ronald daddy on his own, I think that a parent could then say, no, maybe not right now. Let's wait and see. I think that she would have been more within her right to discourage that level of closeness, because she still does not know if it's going to work out between them. So I don't understand calling somebody daddy that you just have not met. It just does not make sense. I really don't. Y'all are not married yet. You don't know if things gonna happen. Like, there's still so much up in the air, So anyway, but what happened? So basically, yes, Tiffany's son has his little play date with his friend, and he talks to his friend about how he's moving to South Africa, but he's really gonna miss him. And so they basically say their goodbyes. It's really, really sweet. And then I guess Tiffany's there talking to his mom and like sharing, what's going on with them, and then basically Tiffany says her final goodbyes to her mom once she's taken to the airport. And her and Daniel, her son, they get on the plane and take off to South Africa. And, again, there's so many questions, right? And Tiffany lets us know what she's questioning, right? Or what she's thinking. So, one of the things that Tiffany says is, the old Ronald put her through hell. The old Ronald, that's still him though. Like, homeboy is just like getting out of rehab. So yeah, why are you moving to South Africa? If you could say he put you through hell, like she didn't say that during the first episode, why are you moving to South Africa? Like, it's not like she's moving to South Africa, has gotten a job for herself, has gotten her own employment and apartment, and is going to live her life like alongside Ronald, to be able to see, hey, can this work? Because I understand needing to be in the presence of somebody, after a long distance relationship can only take you so far, right? So I understand needing to live alongside somebody, get to know them much better before actually marrying them and moving forward, right? Like, you have not done that yet. And particularly, this is very different from even just another long-term relationship. Long distance relationship. This is long distance with an addict. Okay. And then you have a child as well. So I just feel like this is not a smart move. And honestly, how healthy is it to having to depend on a newly recovering addict? Again, Tiffany, as far as I know, she doesn't have a job. So she's going to be depending on him for their living expenses and just where they're going to live and what's going to happen after their marriage. Everything is kind of going to be put on Ronald or Ronald's family or whatever his resources are. And I just feel like how is that even good for Ronald? Ronald has a lot to take care of with himself and being able to see, can he live and survive outside of rehab and not gambling, So she says that she's excited to see this new Ronald who hasn't gambled in 6 months. And it's like, again, this isn't real life. He hasn't gambled in 6 months because he was in rehab. So we don't know what it's like when he's out in the real world. And remember, during the first episode, Ronald was initially, interviewed by TLC for the show. And then a month later, he was back in rehab because he still went back to his old ways of gambling. So we know that, give him a week, 2 weeks, like you haven't even given him any time yet to see what this new side of him can be. So this is really, really concerning. And I just cannot see that this is going to be easy for any of them. And then lastly, Tiffany says something about that she is concerned or she's worried about, Ronald and Daniel's chemistry in person, and I'm like, their chemistry, yes, it can be natural and like instant, but chemistry can also build. To me, that is the least of your worries and concern. Lots of times step parents and their stepchildren can take months, years to get to know each other and to learn about each other and to really foster a really healthy relationship. But you have to be worried about the safety of your child and about the fact whether or not you will be able to live in South Africa and depend on Ronald. So the chemistry, to me, that really that's inconsequential, right? Like, I don't think that's really important. So, I don't know, y'all. it's the daddy thing. That's really what's getting me. It's the daddy thing. It's just so unnecessary. We'll see what happens with them. All right. And then lastly, we have Laura and Aladdin. Y'all must have already seen, right? If you saw the show already. So Laura dropped the bomb. She pulled a Molly y Luis, right? What happened with Molly and Luis? They got married before they said they were married. Yeah. Laura and Aladdin got married already. Now, why? Laura explains that Qatar is, obviously a country where they cannot stay in the same hotel room if they're not married. And so when she went to visit him, I guess sometime the year prior, she married him after knowing him for 9 days. I guess because they wanted to stay together. They wanted to be able to be in the same hotel room and really get to know each other, okay? And seal that deal. So it's just like, so I'm assuming that wasn't her plan, but they felt like this is the only way. Like, makes no sense. So to me, she she's on, I mean, obviously this is 90 Day the Other Way and not like 90 Day before the 90 days, but like, it's like you've already jumped the gun here, So yeah, of course you're deciding to go live in Qatar with him because you feel like you've already tied the knot and you might as well like see if this is going to work, right? Well, anyway, Laura then goes to visit who she calls her adopted brother, Ludwig, who, again, like Karini's brother, was dropping knowledge, dropping that reality in her lap, okay? And so she's telling him everything that happened, and she lets him know that they're already married, and, so he asks her, well, what do you think is going to happen? Or how do you think this relationship is going to be? Because, he's a lot younger than you. Well, Laura responds that, well, a lot of younger guys like older guys. Ludwig says, like is different from marriage. Boom! You're right. Like is different from marriage. Like is different from making a lifelong commitment. That has legal ramifications. Yup. Ludwig came with the truth. And so anyway, then one of the things that Laura says, she hears him and she says, yeah, you're right. And I know I did think about this. And I know it's risky. I know it's this, blah, blah, blah. But then I remember Laura was the one who, whose husband was on the dating website, who cheated on her, and she catfished him to catch him in the act, whatever, so she has been burned. But it's like, even with all of that, you still make this kind of unwise decision. So then at the end, Laura says, well, if I don't jump in the water, I'll never know if I'll be able to swim. Again, these lines that people are saying in the name of love. It's like, people, okay, first of all, swimming is a skill that you have to be taught. You actually have to learn this. Otherwise, you will drown and then die, okay? Like, no one is actually going to, like, take their kid and throw them in the deep blue sea, right? And just, well, okay, yes, some parents do that, right? And, that's kind of harsh, but like, they do pick up the kid and like throw them and just make them, just start to flail around and, potentially swallow a whole bunch of water. But even with that, there's a contingency plan because the parent is right there to be able to swoop in and save the kid if the kid actually does start to go under and not be able to breathe. Okay, so to me, with love, when people say like, oh, I just have to jump. Now, yes, there's always a risk with love because we are free human beings. We have our own, wills to be able to follow. No one can force us into anything, and anytime anything is forced, that's not love. But I feel like people think that they cannot make wise choices when it comes to love. And I also believe that people's definition of love is vastly different, wildly different. What someone might call love, someone else might just call infatuation, or someone might just call it straight up stupid, And I think, again, are we calling love, lust, or are we calling love just the fear of being alone? Are we calling love, just the desire for extreme adventure? I think these are questions to ponder. Anyway, so that's pretty much all that happened in this episode. So not much, but again, lots to think about when it comes to all those life choices that we gotta make, people. Anyway, so I hope I gave you lots to think about, lots to ponder, not just on these couples, but maybe what's going on in your life. So drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. Do you think that Sumit is gonna get away with his lie? What do you think about Laura and Adeline already being married? All right, so drop a comment below. Please hit like if you like the video, and then also subscribe, and you'll find out every time that I post a new video. All right, guys, see you next time.